trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. On the last, then in fellowship sweet, we will sit at His feet, or we'll walk by His side in the way. What He says we will do, where He sends we will go. Never fear, only trust and obey. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey.
Should nothing of our efforts stand, no legacy survive, unless the Lord does raise a house in vain of children strive. To you who boast tomorrow's gain, tell me, what is your life amidst adventures at dawn? All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ. His will be done, His kingdom come, on earth as is above. Who is Himself our daily bread? Praise Him, the Lord of love. Let living water satisfy the thirsty without price. We'll make a cup of kindness yet. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ. On the day the great I am, the faithful and the true, the Lamb who was for sinners slain, is making all things new. Behold, our God shall live with us and be our steadfast light, and we shall ere His people be. All glory be to Christ. All glory be to Christ our King. All glory be to Christ. His rule and reign will ever sing. All glory be to Christ.
All right, most of you here know Henry. They've asked Henry to come and preach for us tonight, so get your Bible open and follow along. And And Father, you're still using the King James, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, okay. So come preach to us.
Hello? Okay, it's on. Turn over to 1 Chronicles chapter 2. I have a lot of verses, so if I read fast or talk fast, it's not because I'm nervous, or I am, but it's because I do have a lot of verses to get through. So it says here in 1 Chronicles chapter 2, starting off in verse 13, it says, And Jesse begat his firstborn Eliab, and Abinadab, the second, and Shema the third, Nathaniel the fourth, Radai the fifth, Ozem the sixth, David the seventh, whose sisters were Zeruiah, and I said that better when I was reading it in my head. Anybody know? Anybody have a? Zeruiah? I'll just go, I'm going to say that a lot today, so Zeruiah, we're going to go with that. And Abigail, and the sons of Zeruiah, Abishai, Joab, and Asahel, 3. And Abigail bare Amasa, and the father of Amasa was Jether the Ishmaelite. Over in 1 Chronicles chapter 11, we got to turn there, 1 Chronicles chapter 11, it says in verse 5, it says, And the inhabitants of Jebus said to David, Thou shalt not come hither. Nevertheless, David took the castle of Zion, which is the city of David. And David said, Whosoever smiteth the Jebusites first shall be chief and captain. So Joab, the son of Zeruiah, went first up and was chief. To just thank for this day, Lord, please protect, take care of us, Lord. Thank you today, Lord, give me this opportunity, Lord. Help me be able to get everything out clearly, Lord. And help it to be understanding, Lord. And I ask for your power, fervent unction, Lord. And I ask all this in your precious name. Amen. So, right here, I looked at, of course, the great men of the Bible. There, you got your King David, you have your Joshua, you have your Moses, you have your men. And all these men always had what you would have a right-hand man, correct? There's always that guy that they would always lean on. And you want to make sure, like it says, not a sore tooth, not somebody that it's like, oh, ow, it's going to hurt. Right. But everybody had that second-hand man. And right here we went through, his name was Joab. He said, whoever basically was like, hey, at this point I'm giving it away. Whoever does it first, you're going to be my chief. You're going to be my guy. And Joab did that. My message today is going to be the rise and fall of Joab. So, we're going to go over to 2 Samuel. 2 Samuel, I had it saved right there. This is after King Saul. This is after Jonathan. This is after all that. At this point in time, David he's already been anointed. Okay, he's already going to be the next king of Israel. But there's still that tension between Israel and Judah. So it says here in verse 11, it says, And the time that David was king of Hebron over the house of Judah was 7 years and 6 months. And Abner, the son of Ner, and the servants of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, went out from Mahanaim to Gibeon. And Joab, the son of Zeruiah, and the servants of David went out and met together by the pool of Gibeon. And they sat down, the one on one side of the pool and the other on the other side of the pool. And Abner said to Joab, Let the young men now arise and play before us. And Joab said, Let them arise. So I was reading this, and I was like, at first I was like, my mind at first went, oh, let the in my mind, let the kids play. And I was like, oh, and then I looked, I don't know why my mind went there, and I looked at the next verse right after that, and they said, Then there arose and went over number 12 of Benjamin, which pertained to Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, and 12 of the servants of David. And they caught every one of his fellow by the head and thrust his sword in his fellow's side. So they fell down together. I was like, oh, okay, whoa. My mind went the total opposite direction. When I was reading this, I had that innocent mind, like, oh, they're going to play. But it's like I knew what was going to happen. But at the same time, when I was reading it today, I was like, oh, they're going to go play. But they did not play, okay? So it says, And there was a very sore battle that day. And Abner was beaten, and the men of Israel before the servants of David. So at this time, Abner's like, okay, man, I'm gonna go off, tail between his legs. He's done. And this is the part which kind of starts this whole Joab's fall right here. This was the beginning. It says, And there were 3 sons of Zeruiah there, Joab and Abishai and Asahel. And Asahel was as light of foot as a wild roe. Didn't know what a wild roe was? A roe is a deer. a roe deer runs 37 miles per hour. It says light of foot as a wild roe, which I'm like, oh, he's fast as a roe. No, he was light as foot, like they were light as foot, just like that. I was like, oh, maybe he could be fast too. You never know. So it says, and then Abner looked behind him and said, art thou Asahel? And he answered, I am. And Abner said to him, turn thee aside to thy right hand or to thy left, and lay hold on one of the young men, and take thee his armor. But Asahel would not turn aside from following of him. So at this point, Asahel's like, hey, job's not over. Abner's still breathing. I'm going to finish his job. I have two older brothers that are probably like saying, same thing how David's brothers were looking down at David. Like, oh, you're just a pipsqueak. You're not ready for this battle. So Asahel was trying to prove himself while thinking he was doing the right thing. And Abner, being the older, much smarter man, said, hey, just go. Go on some, there's plenty of other guys you can fall on and take. Just leave me alone. And he didn't. And he was like, I'm going to have to take your life. Like he said, do you want me to kill you? And Asahel, thought he was young and feisty and ready for battle, but ended up not being ready for it, because it says right here in verse 20, howbeit he refused to turn aside, wherefore Abner with the hinder end of the spear smote him under the fifth rib, that the spear came out behind him, and he fell down there and died in the same place. And it came to pass that as many came to place where Asahel fell and died stood still. So a little bit about this. I went through the chapter. We're going to go through that chapter again. 1 Chronicles chapter 11, David's mightiest men. Okay, men that David was like, hey, these are my mighty men. And at this point, you may say like, oh, well, of course, like you got men like Benaiah. You got good men that are David's mighty men. And there's this guy by the name of Joab that was David's chief. And this is a little bit of like his fall right here. So he gets that bitterness in his heart, and he's like, man, this man killed my brother. Who wouldn't have that in their heart against your own family? You can mess with mess with my friends, mess with this and that, but when you mess with my brother, that's where I draw the line. I can pick on him. Levi, I can pick on Levi all I want. Okay? He's my brother. I can mess with him all I want. If some other dude comes and starts picking on Levi, that's like, oh, okay, I got to step in. Henry, that dude's 12 years old. He's a minor. Okay, I can't. Anybody else? But I will stand up for my brother. And I believe anybody here at an age would stand up for their siblings. Like, hey, I'll pick on my own sister. I'll pick on my brother. But when somebody else does it, you got to mess with me now. Which isn't all in wrong. Like, yeah, you want to stand up for your brothers and sisters. But the way he went about it was the very, very wrong way. And this is what started it off right here. It says in 1 Samuel chapter 3. It says in chapter 3, verse 22, it says, and behold the servants of... verse 20 says, so Abner came to David to Hebron, and 20 men with him. And David made Abner and the men that were with him a feast. And Abner said unto David, I will arise and go, and will gather all Israel unto my lord, the king, that they may take league with thee, and that thou mayest reign over all that thine heart desireth. And David sent Abner away, and he went in peace. So David's had that kindness, saying, okay, all is forgiven, we're good, it's over. But you know who didn't forget anything? Joab. The next verse says, behold, the servants of David and Joab came from pursuing a troop and brought in a great spoil with them. But Abner was not with David in Hebron, for he had sent him away, and he was gone in peace. When Joab and all the host that was with him were come, they told Joab, saying, Abner the son of Ner came to the king, and he has sent him away, and he has gone in peace. Basically saying, oh yeah, it's in peace. I don't know what tone they said it, like, hey man, they let the guy that killed your brother, he just let him go and without touching him. Or it was like they were just telling him what happened. Hey, it's in peace, war's over, everything's fine. Then Joab came to the king and said, what hast thou done? Behold, Abner came unto thee. Why hast thou sent him away, and he is quite gone? Thou knowest Abner the son of Ner, that he came to deceive thee. Joab's going the whole opposite direction. He still has that, hey, this guy killed my brother. He's gonna come after you the kingdom. He's gonna take, which you can say, well, yeah, Joab does have David's back. Joab is behind David saying, hey, you don't know what this guy's gonna do. You don't know. He already was going to go with Ishbosheth and start a whole new kingdom. Like, you don't know what he's going to do to you, king. So yes, Joab was like trying to be that right-hand man, be loyal to his king. But he had other intentions behind that. When David was like, no, it's peace, it's over. He then went, without David knowing, and called for Abner and said, hey, man, let's talk real quick. It's been a while, let's catch up. Because before this time passed, Joab actually chased Abner and pursued after him. And Abner was like, hey, man, can we call a treaty? I'm just going to keep running. You're not as fast as your brother was, okay? You're not going to catch up to me. So then he called for that time peace, and then David forgave him. And then now Abner is there, he has no idea, he's like, oh, hey, how's it going, Joab? Joab's using his power of being that chief to, bring him in as a friend. And he takes advantage of that. And Joab, it says, when Joab has come out from David, he sent messengers after Abner. Go to verse 27, it says, and when Abner was returned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly and smote him there under the 5th rib. I wonder who also died under the 5th rib. Don't you think don't you think Joab saw his dead brother? Yep. And saw where his dead brother died and how he died? Don't you think he took into consideration, I'm going to do the exact same thing you did to him. I'm going to do it to you. Yep. So Joab, he knew he had, you can tell he had something planned. He knew he was going to do something. He just didn't know when he was going to do it. And once he found out that David sent him in peace, he took advantage of this opportunity. He was like, hey, come here, come on, hey, Abner, how's it going? And he pulled them in and just took him right there. And then guess what? Once David found out, David, of course, had his mourning period. And David said, I had no idea about this. But it is your right-hand man, though. And he took that advantage of being a right-hand man and went against David. And that's not just the first time. We're going to get to other times that Joab has done this. But you can tell Joab did it he's thinking not just he killed my brother, but hey, he could be going up against you, King. David, he can be deceiving you. He can be trying to lead up another rebellion against you. Joab is just trying to be that guy for David. And yes, you can look. We look down at this, and we'll get to what I have planned in this part right here. It says, actually we got to that part. But in 2 Samuel, you say, well, hey, Joab is a bad guy. At this point, we're thinking, okay, Joab's bad. He's horrible. He killed Abner. He set him in peace. Joab is the bad guy. Well, it says in 2 Samuel chapter 10, it says, hey, this is somewhat of a good quality that Joab actually, one out of his many bad qualities he may have had, but this is a good time period for Joab himself. It says in Joab chapter 10, verse 9, it says, when Joab saw that the front of the battle was against him before and behind, he chose of all the choice men of Israel and put them in array against the Syrians. And the rest of the people he delivered unto the hand of Abishai, his brother. And just remember that at this whole time, who was always with him? Joab. Originally he had his other two brothers with him. And you will consistently see Joab had his brother Abishai with him. They still stuck together. And it says, Abishai's brother, that he might put them in array against the children of Ammon. And he said, if the Syrians be too strong for me, then thou shalt help me. But if the children of Ammon be too strong for thee, then I will come and help thee. Be of good courage, and let us play the men for our people. There's that word play. I don't know what made play a bad word, but play right here, same thing. Let us play the men for our people, and for the cities of our God, and the Lord do that which seemeth him good. So he was like, hey, he had that spirit of, hey man, I got your back, you got my back. God, what happens, God's going to be over it. So he still had that mentality of God's in control. He's not in that mentality of I'm going to take things in my own hand, I'm going to do what I want to do. He still understands God's in control. I'm still second to the king. I'm nothing. I'm useless. I do my job. And his job was to be at battle. And we're coming to that part we all know about, mainly about David. But Joab served a great part in the David and Bathsheba triangle. Yeah. You may say, well, what did Joab have to do? Well, who do you think the general was? And it's always mentioned there was Joab. But I looked into it and I was like, well, oh yeah, okay, Joab did what he was supposed to do. But it says here in chapter 11, it says in verse 15, It says, and he wrote in the letter saying, set Uriah in the forefront of the hottest battle, and retire ye from him, that he may be smitten and die. And it came to pass, when Joab observed the city, that he assigned Uriah into a place where he knew that the valiant men were. So he's doing exactly, word by word, what the king says. He's still loyal to the king, even knowing that, hey, this is wrong. Like, hey, we're about to kill this guy. He's still being loyal to the king. So he still has David's back. And David knows, hey, Joab's going to do whatever I say. He's my right-hand man. He would do anything I tell him to do. It says in verse 16, it came to pass when Joab, or we'll go down to verse 17. And the men of the city went out and fought with Joab, and there fell some of the people of the servants of David, and Uriah the Hittite died also. Then Joab sent and told David all the things concerning the war. And this is the part which kind of eye-opened right here. It says, and charged the messenger, saying, when thou hast made an end of telling the matters of the war unto the king, and if so be that the king's wrath arise, and say unto thee, wherefore approached ye so nigh unto the city when ye did fight? Knew ye not that they would shoot from the wall? Who smote Abimelech the son of Jerubbesheth? Did not a woman cast a piece of millstone upon him from the wall, that he died in Thebez? Why went ye nigh the wall? Then say thou, thy servant Uriah the Hittite is dead also. So basically, he's telling this messenger, he said, hey, basically disguise the death of Uriah. So it's not like, oh, hey, by the way, the job's done, Uriah's dead. And then everybody's like, wait, what do you mean the job is done, Uriah's? No, he's basically saying, disguise what happened. I want you to go and tell him, talk about the battle. And at the very end, be like, hey, yeah, and Uriah died. And Uriah was one of the mightiest men, right. David's mightiest men. So basically, that's kind of like an end of the story kind of thing. Hey, by the way, Uriah died. So it's still hidden under the blanket of lies of it's basically, yeah, he's telling the truth, but it's like he's still covering it up with the whole, oh, this happened in the battle, this happened in the battle. And as it went forth, that's exactly how it went. He went and told David all these things. At the end of the story, he said, it says right here, it says, and David said unto the messenger, thus shalt thou say unto Joab, and let not these things displease thee, for the sword devoureth one as well as another. Make thy battle more strong against the city, and overthrow it, and encourage thou him. So basically, David told the messenger, oh, well, people die. Okay, well, hey, he can tell, hey, this is more hidden. And he said, just go encourage Joab then. Basically saying, go tell him thank you for doing the job that I want, that's done. But in all this, who got in trouble? Who was the one that got punished, though, in this situation? David. Joab didn't get at this point he didn't. We'll get to that. But at this point, Joab didn't get nothing towards him. So the first thing he did was he took out Abner. Boom. Hey, that's kind of like strike one right there, man, okay? But he took out Abner, nothing. Slap on the hand for that one. Then boom, he did, this is not in the eyes of David, but in the eyes of God. He did this for David. Didn't get punished for it. It's just stacking up for him. And this is just slowly declining himself to a deeper pit of what's going to happen to him. Oh, man, I feel like I'm talking too fast. But it says in 12:26, though, it says, chapter 12, same book, chapter 12:26 says, and Joab fought against Rabbah of the children of Ammon and took the royal city. So this is another good, I wouldn't say good quality, but this is basically him being still loyal to King David, doing what's in the favor of King David. It says here, and Joab sent messengers to David and said, I have fought against Rabbah and have taken the city of waters. Now therefore gather the rest of the people together and encamp against the city and take it, lest I take the city and it be called after my name. And David gathered all the people together and went to Rabbah and fought against it and took it. And he took their king's crown from off his head, the weight whereof was a talent of gold with the precious stones, and it was set on David's head. And he brought forth the spoil of the city in a great abundance. Joab, he's like, hey, let them know, this is easy. I'm about to go in here and destroy it, and they're going to, it's going to make me look really good, and they're going to give me that crown. He told the king, dude, you're the king. The glory should go to you. in that loyal manner, knowing that he is not the king. He is the second man. He is supposed to do it. He is told from the king, he said, hey, I'm giving this to you. You're the king. You deserve this. David, oh, okay, thanks. Like, oh, hey, I'm going to go. He went, walked right in, took the crown, boom, done. Glory went to David. So he is still loyal to the king, which then you may say, like, hey, there are 2 times, I'm going to say this now, there are 2 times Joab is mentioned in the mightiest men. And you may say, man, for a man to be mentioned twice, that's a lot right there. And you can look at all these different things. He was loyal to the king. He backed up the king. He took care of the king's dirty work for him. He was the commander. He was the chief. So we'll continue. We'll continue right here. It says, we'll look in chapter 17. This is during the time of David's favorite son. Not really favorite, but Absalom. Everybody knows beautiful long hair Absalom. Every time I think of that story, it just reminds me of when my dad first came here and he had that long, precious hair, and when they grabbed him by the hair and just yanking him around. Like, I always think, like, what is it with long hair, like, for a guy? Like, I don't get it. Like, yeah, I like having hair, okay? I'm going to be thankful for that. But long hair, it just doesn't seem appealing, okay? But it says in here in chapter 17, verse 25, it says, and Absalom made Amasa captain of the host instead of Joab, which Amasa was a man's son whose name was Ithra, an Israelite, that went into Abigail, daughter of Nahash, sister to Zeruiah, Joab's mother. You may say, well, we just talked about Amasa, right? When he was, now we know, okay, Amasa is cousins with Joab. Connection, easy. So now we get to the part where, hey, Absalom picked Joab. You may say, why did he pick Joab? Well, Joab is, I'm standing next to my king. I'm not leaving my king. I'm not even going to try to go to Joab. He did not turn sides. He is loyal to his king. So he took Amasa, which was his cousin, Joab's cousin, which is also another blood relative to David. So it says here, it says here in chapter 18, I moved far. Why did I move so far? Okay. It says, and David numbered the people that were with him and set captains of thousands and captains of hundreds over them. And David sent forth a third part of the people under the hand of Joab, and a third part under the hand of Abishai, the son of Zeruiah, Joab's brother. So this part right here is just always showing Abishai is with Joab. They do everything together. They're brothers. They stay hand in hand. We'll go back real quick to we'll go back quick to 1 Samuel. I'll go back real quick to 1 Samuel chapter 2. I think I actually overskipped this part. I meant to say it. Chapter 2, verse it's still 1 Samuel. Okay. What am I? 2 Samuel. Yeah, I was like, what am I in 1 Samuel for? Thank you. I'm sorry. I was way off. So 2 Samuel chapter 2, we'll get to it says, and when this is right after Asahel died, it said Asahel, in ending of verse 23, it says, Asahel fell down and died, stood still. In verse 24, it says, Joab also Abishai pursued after Abner. So Abishai and Joab pursued after him. We'll go to chapter 3, verse 24. It says, Joab came to the king and said, we'll go down to verse 77. It said, when Abner was turned to Hebron, Joab took him aside in the gate to speak with him quietly, and smote him there under the 5th rib, and he died for the blood of Asahel, his brother. And afterward, when David heard it, he said, I and my kingdom are guiltless before the Lord, forever from the blood of Abner the son of Ner. Verse 30, it says, so Joab and Abishai, his brother, slew Abner, because he had slain their brother Asahel at Gibeon in the battle. So we see this. His brother's there. We'll get to that part. We'll get to that part right there. Why it is significant that, Abishai was always there, his brother. It says here in chapter 19 of 2 Samuel, all this is in 2 Samuel, as you can tell so far. Chapter 19, actually wait, I think I skipped 18, which is... Why am I in 1 Kings? I'm way over everywhere. It says in verse 18, verse 12 and 15, it says, and the man said unto Joab, though I should receive, or we'll go to verse 11. It says, and Joab said unto the man that told him, and behold, thou sawest him, and why didst thou not smite him there to the ground, and I would have given thee 10 shekels of silver and a girdle. This is when, verse 10, we'll just read it. And a certain man saw it and told Joab, said, behold, I saw Absalom hanged in an oak. Beautiful long hair gets you in trouble, for a guy at least. So at this point it says, Joab's like, hey man, if I would have given you 10 shekels of silver, I would have done all this for you if you would have killed them easily. I would have rewarded you for getting rid of this enemy. Because he's saying, I'm loyal to the king. This is an adversary to the king. I'm going to get rid of him. No matter what the king says, I'm going to get rid of him. Because I know he's going to hurt the king. And the king gave specific orders. It says, then Joab, I may not tarry thus with thee. Or no, it says in verse 12, it says, the man said to Joab, though I should receive 1,000 shekels of silver in mine hand, yet would I not put forth mine hand against the king's son. For in our hearing the king charged thee and Abishai and Ittai, saying, beware that none touch the young man Absalom. Otherwise I should have wrought falsehood against my own life, for there is no matter hid from the king, and thou thyself wouldest have set thyself against me. He said, if I would have killed him and the king would have been mad at me, you would have been on the king's side. Because that's how loyal you are to the king. So even if he would have done that and he paid him and all that, he was like, you would have chosen David's side anyways. And you would have been the one, probably would have been the one to sent forth to kill me for doing so. That's how known Joab is for, hey, whatever I'm gonna do, I might pick the king's side. If the king's in an argument, I'll be on his side. Even if I was on the other side, I'm gonna hop back on the king's side. So it is known that Joab is that kind of double-minded, kind of will do stuff kind of guy. And it says here, and Joab said, I may not tarry thus with thee. And he took 3 darts in his hand and thrust them through the heart of Absalom while he was yet alive in the midst of the oak. And 10 young men that bare Joab's armor compassed about this and smote Absalom and slew him. So that's another strike towards Joab. You may say, oh, he killed the king's son. Right here, it says, and 10 young men that bare Joab's armor compassed about and smote Absalom. Well, remember that. It says, bared Joab's armor. 19, same chapter, verse 5, or next chapter, it says, and Joab came into the house to the king and said, thou hast shamed this day the faces of all thy servants, which this day have saved thy life, and the lives of thy sons and of the daughters, and the lives of thy wives, and the lives of thy concubines, in that thou lovest thine enemies and hatest thy friends. For thou hast declared this day that thou regardest neither princes nor servants. For this day I perceive that if Absalom had lived, and all we had died this day, then it had pleased thee well. Now therefore arise, go forth, and speak comfort unto thy servants. For I swear by the Lord, if thou go not forth, there will not tarry one with thee this night, and I will be worse unto thee than all the evil that befell thee from thy youth until now. He threatened him, saying, hey, man, you would rather your son, who was doing all this evil against you, live than if all of us, your servants, your kingdom would have died. He's telling him, get off your hands and knees. Yes, you mourn from him, but go thank them who fought for you and who stood by your side. He's like, we stood by your side this whole time, didn't switch sides, as easily as we could have been like, this guy's younger, this guy's stronger than David, his son, supposed to be the next king, we'll all just gather towards him and choose him. And David could have just went out. But no, they all stood by David's side. And Joab's saying, dude, go thank everybody. We did all this for you. You should go tell them thank you. Get off your butt. Go tell them thank you. Kind of stood up to the king and told David what's up. And that's exactly what David got up, went and said thank you. So all this to say, we're not done yet, but all this, we're getting towards the end. It said, we're looking at Joab. Yeah, he's had his bumps and bruises. But if you look at the things that he's done, it's kind of like, man, this guy has a track record of killing people. Yeah. Just upright, hey, I'm going to kill this guy. He looked at me the wrong way, I'm killing him. Kind of not the right attitude to have. And it says here in chapter 20, it says in, this part right here, 19, verse 13. This is right after David said something to David, right after he killed Absalom. It says in verse 13, it says, ye are my brethren, ye are my bones, and my flesh. Therefore then are ye the last to bring back the king. He's talking to another one of his nephews. And say ye to Amasa, art thou not of my bone and of my flesh? God do so to me, and more also, if thou be not captain of the host before me continually in the room of Joab. Right then and there, I feel like that was the last straw for Joab. Joab basically saw like, I just lost my job to the dude that was on the enemy side. Because Amasa was Absalom's chief. And now David's saying to Amasa, hey, you can have Joab's spot now. So Joab is like, that's it. Hands off the table. I already know what I'm going to do. Easy. I'm going to do what I usually do. It says in verse 20, it says in 20 verse 9, it says, and Joab said to Amasa, art thou in health, my brother? And Joab took Amasa by the beard with the right hand to kiss him. But Amasa took no heed to the sword that was in Joab's hand. So he smote him therewith in the fifth rib. I guess repetition or something. Just like, I did it once before. Might as well do it again. The same spot. It says, and shed out his bowels to the ground and struck him not again. And he died. So Joab and Abishai, his brother, pursued after Sheba the son of So at this whole time you say, what does Abishai have to do with anything? Abishai has seen everything, has been to battle with Joab, has done all this stuff. And guess what? Not a word. Not like, dude, what are you doing? Why do you keep killing people? Okay, yes, I get Abner. Yeah, he's gone. But like, you continue this. So it says, it says here in 1 Kings now, and then I will move a little forward. Dang it. 1 Kings chapter 1. Actually, I did have it saved. I don't know why I kept it. 1 Kings chapter 1, it says in verse 5, it says, and Adonijah the son of Haggith exalted himself, saying, I will be king. Oh, wait, actually, I think I skipped over a part. Well, the part I skipped over was the time when David was talking about Shimei and saying, hey, what do we have to do with this guy? And then Abishai said to David, saying, well, he cursed you. Let's kill him. This was Abishai. And David said, man, what is up? And he says, what are up with you, the sons of Zeruiah? He's basically, what up with all you boys? You're just like your brother Joab. Kill. What's the solution? Kill him. Easy. So at this time, it says right here in 1 Kings, chapter 1, verse 5, it says, in 7 it says, then Adonijah, the son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I will be king. And he prepared him chariots and horsemen and 50 men to run before him. Verse 7, it says, and he conferred with Joab, the son of Zeruiah. So Joab basically now has become, okay, I'm done with the king now. He wanted to take me out of the position I was in. I'm finally switching sides. I'm going to the other side now. I'm done. I'm tired of it. So now Adonijah was the older brother of Solomon. But who was the one that was supposed to be next king in line? Solomon. But who wanted to be king, of course? Adonijah. And Adonijah was like, hey, easy way? I get the guy that kills everybody for me. So he picked up Joab on his team, because Joab will do anything. So in chapter 2, verse 5, it says, moreover, this is now David talking to Absalom. It says, moreover, thou knowest also what Joab, the son of Zeruiah, did to me, and what he did to the two captains of the host of Israel, and unto Abner the son of Ner, and unto Amasa the son of Jether, whom he slew and shed the blood of war in peace, and put the blood of war upon his girdle, and as about his loins, and in his shoes that were on his feet. So basically, he's given him his track record. This is all he's done. Nothing's been done about it. Do therefore according to thy wisdom, and let not his hoar head go down to the grave in peace. So basically, don't get rid of him. You do how you want to do it. You're the next king. You're the king of wisdom. Do it. It says here in chapter 2, verse 28, it says, Then tidings came to Joab, for Joab had turned after Adonijah, switched sides, he was a traitor, though he turned not after Absalom. And Joab fled it says he turned not after, so it's saying he turned not after Absalom, meaning he didn't switch sides in the Absalom rebellion, but he switched sides now. And Joab fled into the tabernacle of the Lord and caught hold on the horns of the altar. Verse 34, it says, So Benaiah the son of Jehoiada went up and fell upon him and slew him, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. So boom, Joab's life, over, done. Everything he's done from beginning to end, it's talked about. So now, let's get to the mightiest man. The 2 times he was mentioned in 1 Chronicles. The 2 times he was mentioned. It says here in chapter 11, it says, in verse 30, we'll start in verse 20. It says, And Abishai, the brother of Joab, he was chief of the 3. For lifting up his spear against 300, he slew them and had a name among the 3. Abishai. Oh, Joab was mentioned, but he was mentioned because Abishai was mentioned. Hey, man, he's got that second one, right? Okay, let's go to verse 39. Zelak, the Ammonite, Nahira, the Brothite, the armor bearer of Joab, the son of Zeruiah. Remember I told you, remember the 10 young armor bearers? Who's to say one of those armor bearers wasn't this one that was mentioned in the mightiest men? I'm not saying he was, I'm just saying think about it. 2 men were mentioned in the mightiest men who were associated with Joab. And you may say, why wasn't Joab mentioned in the mightiest men? He was a mighty man for David, even Abishai, who was there with Joab every step of the way, was mentioned. I believe Joab, it's because he betrayed David at the end. In the very end, he chose the other side. He was loyal. He did everything. Yes, he got his hands dirty. He was the warlord for David. He was David's. But in the very end, he turned sides. Boom. In the very end, what side are we going to turn on? I'm not saying we're going to lose our salvation, but what side, between having those glories and riches, what side are we going to turn on in the very end? Amen. The rise and fall of Joab. Jesus, thank you for this day, Lord. Please protect and take care of us, Lord. Thank you for the blessings you've given us, Lord. Protect and take care of us, Lord. And, help us to learn from this, Lord, and to learn not to switch sides, Lord, not to turn from you, Lord, but to stick with the fight, Lord, and to keep pressing on, Lord. I ask all this, and you pray, take care of us all, Lord, as we go out today, Lord. In your precious name, amen.
Perhaps there's somebody here tonight, you talked about not turning on the Lord later on in life. Maybe someone here has never turned to Jesus in the first place and need to be saved. If there's someone here that's never been saved, you've never asked Jesus to save you, we ask you to come during this time of invitation. Come talk to Brother Perry. He's up front. He'll receive you and have someone show you from the Bible how you can know for sure you're going to heaven. If you've never been saved, you ought to come tonight and get that done. As for us that are saved, we need to stay on the same side. We need to stay on the winning side. Stay on the side of Jesus and fight for Him each day of our life. And